Hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. In this video, I want to talk a bit about prediction and how we tend to predict what's going to happen in terms of our symptoms and how this actually impacts on the symptoms we experience. So throughout our daily lives, we make predictions, we make assumptions, we can anticipate what's going to happen. And that's perfectly normal and actually really need that to function within the world. If we didn't make any predictions as to what was going to happen, if we didn't anticipate certain things, then we would struggle in everyday life. But we're thinking about it more in terms of our persistent symptoms that we may be experiencing. So some examples of that will be people who maybe would say, oh, my back is always sore when I sit in a hard chair. Or my interstitial cystitis gets worse when I drink alcohol. Or my shoulder gets really sore if I have to sit, if I don't have my special seat at work when I'm sitting at the computer. Or my knee gets really sore if I have to stand in line for more than 15 minutes, something like that. So I know that I know that my symptoms are going to get worse when X, Y, or Z in this situation. So we're predicting that the symptoms are going to get worse in this environment. So this is referred to under various terms, like predicting. Predictive coding is a word that's sometimes used. Association, conditioned response. These are all words that we can use, or phrases that we can use to refer to the same thing, where basically we are predicting that our symptoms are going to change in this situation. And this will usually be based on previous experience. But it can also be influenced by other things, such as things we've read. So, like for example, interstitial cystitis is a good example. There is often a list of food and drink that flare up symptoms. Back pain, people will know from either from other people chatting to them or reading things, information, or they've been told by a doctor, oh, I shouldn't ever lift heavy things, I shouldn't sit in a certain way, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. Same for people with sore knees, or you shouldn't walk on hard ground, or you should only wear cushioned shoes, or whatever it may be. So they'll be based on their own experience and potentially influenced by other experience of other people or things they've read or been advised by professionals. So we're building up a whole picture round here of the symptoms and the scenario we're in, and on that basis we then make predictions as to what the outcome is going to be. So it may well be that on an occasion you were sitting in a chair and it was particularly hard and your back was quite sore that day. So you then make the connection that, well, every time I sit in a hard chair, my back's going to get sorer. But in reality, what's happening is you're making an association between the hard chair and your back getting sorer. So that's in a pathway that's then developing. That makes the association with the hard chair and the back pain. But we know, in fact, that most persistent symptoms, most persistent pain isn't due to the structural cause. And if it's not due to a structural cause, then the hard chair is going to have no influence on your back. But what is having influence on your back is your belief that the hard chair is going to make your back sorer. It's that pathway, it's the pathway around the hard chair and the back that is making your symptoms increase. So if you know you're sitting, either you know you're going to be sitting in a hard chair or you are sitting in a hard chair. So I'm sitting here in a very hard chair and I'm thinking, oh, the last time I sat in a hard chair, my back was really sore. So I'm now focusing in on my back pain and the hard chair. I'm now paying a lot of extra attention to that area with a great of intensity. I'm sitting waiting, like the meerkat, waiting for the symptoms to appear. So my brain then notices every wee twinge, every change, every hard bit of the chair. I'm focusing so intently on the symptoms. Then my symptoms will increase because I'm focused on it. My brain then misinterprets every little change as a sign of danger, and it will ramp up the symptoms. It can also apply afterwards. So maybe in relation to food and drinks, maybe one there that people might say, if they have IBS or bladder sensitivity, they might exclude certain things from their diets. Maybe don't eat certain things, don't drink certain things. Again, that could be based on, oh, that time I had whatever, it flared up my IBS, that time I had whatever, my bladder was, symptoms were really bad. It could be based on that. And it can also be, again, based on information they've read about other people with their condition, or lists that have been produced by experts in the field that say, oh, these things are known to make symptoms worse. And after the event, then you think, oh, I had whatever it was, I don't know, tomatoes. Tomatoes always flare up my bladder symptoms. And there it is, there's my bladder symptoms flared up. So it can be in retrospect, looking back on it, or it can be at the time. But either way, you're focusing in on the symptoms, your brain is making that connection, you're watching with fear and intensity, which is making your brain more acutely aware, and it's likely to increase the symptoms you're experiencing. So what can we do about that? Well, it's really this is often a tricky one for people, because it becomes such an ingrained thing, and such when we have these associations, it's very hard, to not go there, not to be looking, if you are sitting in a hard seat, or you are having something different to eat or drink, to not be sitting going, oh, I wonder if it's going to be okay, I wonder if we'll be all right this time. I know I should be okay, but maybe I'm not okay. And I know, it's all these different things. So it's very hard not to do that. And it's back to the idea of just trying to lower the intensity a wee bit and saying, well, I know there's nothing wrong with my back. I'm sitting on this chair. I'm a bit more aware of the sensations in my back right now, but that's okay. I know that's just because my brain is defaulting to the position it's used to, which is focusing in on it because I'm sitting in the hard chair, because it's expecting it to be sore. And if it does get a bit sore, well, that's okay. I know that's just my brain going in the path that it's most used to. But it's okay, because I know there's nothing wrong here, and it's just that association between the chair and my pain that the brain is used to making. And it will be okay. So it's just trying to lower the intensity. That's just a very general example, whatever it may be. It's about lowering that intensity, because when we've got that association, we're making that prediction, the intensity of the focus will inevitably go to the symptoms, and we're sitting, waiting, watching, noticing every little twinge, which is then going to be interpreted by the brain as sign that there's something wrong. And all these normal little twinges and sensations that we would normally be experiencing, the brain would normally just filter out and not pay any attention to, because we've predicted it, because we're in an environment where we've made an association. Its brain's going to focus in on it even more, and it's going to up the ante. And as I say, it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, I knew that was going to happen, and then it has happened again. So then it's reinforcing that pathway even more. So like everything, the first thing to do is just trying to drop down the intensity a wee bit and say, it's okay. I know I'm safe. Any increase I'm feeling is just because my brain is defaulting to the path it's used to. And that's okay, because it's a process that I'm working through, and I know that I'm safe, and whatever I need to do is okay. It will pass, and I understand what's going on. So just lowering the intensity is always the first thing to try and do. Okay, so I hope that tells you a wee bit about prediction and association. Predictive coding, as I say, it's sometimes called, conditioned response, or an association with certain situations. So obviously, if you have a crystal ball, this doesn't apply to you. If you are able to predict the future, then that's great. But I would say for the majority of us, that's not the case. So without the crystal ball, we don't know what our pain is going to do. We don't know that the pain is going to get worse. So try and just reassure yourself, and remember that it's most likely due to the associations round about it, rather than the actual activity itself. Okay, so I'll leave you for now, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.